Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today I thought we'd get back on with the old Amstrad PCW project. As you remember, I got this PCW mainboard for £1, 199p on eBay, and we managed to get it working and we got it loading PCW software, and one of my awesome viewers donated me a PCW keyboard and some software. Like I said, you've seen in my previous videos, we've actually got it booting up and running software, but it's just a circuit board. So what I thought we'd do in today's video is having a look about casing it up. Now, I did say I was planning on adding this with an old CPC 6128 board that I had, and making like a dual Amstrad computer. I've gone off that idea, at least for the moment. I've looked into it, and everything seems easy enough to do apart from the keyboard interfacing. Basically, the way that the Amstrad PCW and the way that the CPC handle actually the keyboards are in a completely different fashion. I was planning on using the PCW keyboard. The problem being the actual PCW keyboard controller chip is in the keyboard, and it just sends basically data back out the keyboard connector there. The way that the CPC addresses its keyboard, it actually does all the matrixing and everything inside the computer, and there are ways I could get around it, but they'd involved something like a little Arduino or something like that to actually take the data from the PCW keyboard and recreate what it would see on the CPC. And although it is a project I will look at again in the future, what I really want to do is have this PCW board so I can use it and have it as a workable system. So what I found, I was digging about in my junk and I found this. Now this has got a little bit of history with me. What it was originally, many moons ago, is the receiver rack for an old Samsung radio mic setup. Now I remember, probably, it's over 10 years ago, me and a friend of mine at work, I used to work in events management, and I did various jobs in the company. It was only a small company. And one of the things I used to do was vision mix on big events. So basically I was the one that used to sit at a console, and we'd have perhaps 4 or 5 cameramen in the room, and I'd select which shots was going up on the big screen, and I'd mix the shots together and things like that. And we used obviously a communications system, the comm system, and it was a belt pack based comm system, so you had to press a little button on your belt, and it had a headset on with a microphone, and I could speak to my cameraman. And I had a separate comms loop than the rest of the people working in there, because obviously the people that were doing, like, calling the computer shots and doing the PowerPoint and stuff didn't want to hear me shouting at my cameraman all the time. And I couldn't really wear 2 belt packs and have 2 systems on at once, so we converted this into a rack mount comm system for my vision mixing unit. And it used to have a microphone that came out here, and a button on a jack on here which had a foot switch. So I could basically, and another little switch here, I could switch between this comm system and the main comm system if I need to talk to someone else in the crew. And basically we designed this entire system, me and a friend of mine, and that's how we did it for many years. Like I said, it was like a dual comm system, and I could switch between the 2 channels, and I could also, with the foot switch, I could be actually vision mixing and have my hands on the vision mixer and be able to use the foot switch to engage my microphone and talk to one of my cameramen if I needed him to zoom out or if I needed him to focus on something specific. Anyway, many years later we actually bought a newer system, and this became redundant, and somehow, someway it ended up, when I left that company, with many other piles of junk which were in the warehouse kind of migrated home with me. And it's sat in my cellar pretty much ever since. And I was down there the other day and I spotted it, and I thought, I wonder if that would make a nice case for the PCW. And here's a really cool thing. This here, originally it would have been where this is what's known as when it was a radio mic, it's known as a diversity receiver, and it has 2 sets of aerials. and it used to have a couple of little bar graphs on here which showed which aerial B was taking the strongest signal. Like I said, we ripped all that out, and we put a little panel back there, and I said we have the jack and the switches mounted on it. And it's just the case. I mean, I think we recycled various bits out of it to make other projects. It was a company, and a lot of the equipment that we had, between me and another guy, we actually designed a lot of the equipment we used in the company ourselves. It was quite innovative, really. So I think we recycled basically the insides of this into other projects, but I just ended up with the case. But this is what I thought was really cool, that little slot there. Look, you couldn't get much of a better fit than that. Now I am going to have a 3.5-inch drive, but I think I'm going to have that externally, and I'm going to actually build in the 3-inch drive into here if we can get all this to fit. So that's what I thought we'd do in this video, is I'd crack this thing open and we will just see what the viability is going to be of actually building all this into this case. So without further ado, let's get cracked into this thing and have a bit of a look at it. We can take the rack ears off. I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to rack mount this, so I probably don't need to put them back on, but let's see if we've got a better screwdriver here. I have all my screwdrivers gone. But where's my nice screwdriver gone? Oh, there it is, on the floor. Anyway, so let's get these rack ears off. It is a little on the bashed about side, this, but I think it'll straighten up and we can clean all the crud off it and clean all the old stickers off it and what have you. If anyone notices that, I am actually using a different camera. Unfortunately, the definition is not going to be as good, but hopefully the audio is going to be better. This is what I've been using for quite some time. That's the HD camera that I have been using since my main camera went AWOL, when it got pinched. This is what's given us reasonable video quality, but the awful sound which everyone seems to be complaining about on my videos, you'll be happy to know it's died. It won't power up anymore, it's kaput. So unfortunately you're going to have to put up with slightly less higher resolution videos. Fortunately the sound, like I said, may be slightly better. I hopefully will be able to afford to buy something of a better camera sometime in the next few months. It's not going to be immediately because I am really short of money at the moment, but like I say, I do intend to replace my camera. But for the moment you're just going to have to put up with, like I said, a very slightly lower quality video, but at least as a bonus to that you will have a slightly higher quality audio output. And like I said, let's get this, let's get rid of this. Let's get inside here and see quite whether this is going to work or not. Get the top off it. And we're in. Now let's see what we've got in here. Very little, obviously. Like I said, we have stripped this out, but these, if you notice there and there, they're the old aerial connections when it used to be a radio mic receiver. I think we can probably get rid of that piece of steel in there. Let's see if we can get that out. And we'll see if we can make enough room in here to take the main board. I'd also like to see if we can integrate a power supply in here as well. I think somewhere, if I can find it, I've got an old PVR. You know, one of the old hard drive recorders. Let's find it. It's donkey's years old now. It's absolutely useless as its intended purpose. I think I've actually pinched the hard drive out of it for another project, but I'm wondering whether it's only got a very small power supply like that on a little PCB, and obviously because it's a hard drive recorder it has 12 and 5 volts, which is just what we need for this thing. So I'm wondering whether I could hijack that and integrate it in here and use it as the power supply for this thing. and then everything's built into the one unit. And like I said, I know it won't be quite as cool as having the CPC built in there as well, but it still will be super cool. Let's get that out of there. Oh dear me. Summer's come, so my hay fever's kicked off, so my nose is my nose is dripping like mad at the moment. So if I start sniffing up, I do apologise. Okay, we've got that out. We'll get rid of them. We can actually take the whole back. This is a really nice case actually, because the whole thing seems to come apart. Right, let's get the old PCW motherboard and let's see whether this is going to work. Now, let's unravel that. And let's have a look. Look at that. Oh yeah. How's that for a fit? Now we can fit that. I'm going to have to make some standoffs or something to actually support the board. But that looks like it's actually going to fit just as I like it, just as I wanted it. Hopefully with just enough room for the disk drive. I think I'm going to have to do some work at the front here on the metal work. Let's get that. I need to get rid of these really. Let's get that out of the way, because we don't need an XLR connector on the back like that. Let's get rid of the XLR connector. Okay, that's gone. Let's get that out of the way. I need to get rid of these. They're going to be fun because they've been fitted in with like a strong glue or something. Araldite by the look of it. We'll have to break that araldite free before we can get them out. Dear me. Ah, there we go. That's that piece off. I need some big pliers now. Where are my big pliers? They're not big enough. Where are my really big pliers? Why is it whenever you start something like this, all the tools that you need mysteriously seem to disappear? They were on my workbench the other day, I know, because I used them. Ah, that might do. Let's hope this opens up big enough. We can use the old AJ to get it off. Let's have a look here. Yeah, it does. If we can get in with it. In fact, what we might have to do, let's take the board back out there because we don't want to damage the board. What we might have to do is take this panel. In fact, what I'll do, I'm going to pause the video and I'll come back when I've got a little bit further on with it and you can see how I'm progressing. Okay, we're back, and as you can see, I have basically I've got the drive and the main board mounted in this new case. It's actually gone in quite nicely. As you can see, the drive's gone in really quite well. I've used the old CPC 6128 drive bracket. I've flipped it over. It used to be on this side here, and all I've done is I've flipped it over onto the other side and drilled some holes through the bottom of the case like that, and that's mounted it nicely. I will have to do something on this side just to mount it, just to make it a little bit more secure, so I'll make a little L bracket to go on there to secure it there. The main board has gone in really quite nicely. What I have had to do, I don't know if you can spot it, is there's the what's going to be the mains power switch. And I did just have to take a little bit of the board off, just in that corner. Literally just, I don't even know where it's gone. I just had to take a tiny little sliver, like a little corner. It's only on the ground plane, so it's not going to cause a problem. But I did just have to like take a little corner out there, just to clear the switch, because I do want to use that basically as the main power switch. So like I said, that's as far as I've got so far. The next thing I'm probably going to do is, where wherever it's gone. Just bear with me 1 second. Ah, there we go. We have this lot here. This is the video. This is the video driver board that I created to give us a composite video signal, well, a black and white video signal that will run on a composite monitor off the PCW. That's going to have to be mounted somewhere, or at least I may remake this and make a slightly better version of it. It does work this quite well, but I might put a bit more regulation on it and just have a really good look at the circuit, see if I can improve it anyway. That will need mounting somewhere, and what we've got is we've got a couple of nice little points at the back there, so hopefully we can possibly mount that board something something like that, I think, possibly that way up. Obviously we may have to do something with the disk drive cable, and obviously we're going to have to do something because I want to run an external 3.5-inch drive off this as well. So we'll probably have to build an interface off one of these connectors, put some kind of connector on the back here to run a external disk drive. I have got something in mind for that. I've got an old, it's off an ancient netbook which is completely dead and there's nothing I can do with it, but I do have its external 1.44 meg floppy disk drive, which I'm hoping I can modify. Have a connector on the back of here, be able to mount that externally to this actual unit. But we've got the keyboard connector there, and what I'm hoping to do is mount that in that hole there at the front of the case. Obviously I'll have to widen that out slightly. I can put my step drill in there and just ream that out a little bit, and I think I might have to modify this board. I might have to cut a bit of the metalwork. Let's just spin this around so I can show you. That lines up to this bit here on the case. So what I may have to do is take the old Dremel and just take a bit of the metalwork out there, and then I can mount that keyboard connector behind there, in there, like that. So basically the keyboard connector will poke out of that hole there. So we'll have a keyboard connector out of the hole like that. And obviously that will be replaced with another one, and we'll put a video out jack, possibly using that hole there, or one of these holes already on the back. The next thing I will have to do is see if I'll have to have a hunt in the cellar and see if I've still got that old PVR. If I have, I'm pretty certain the power supply should be just right to fit down the side of the disk drive there, which is the absolute ideal place for it, because obviously it'll connect straight up to the floppy disk. And then we can just take the extra 5-volt power around, plug it in on that connector that I already added to the board there, and that's going to actually power the whole unit up, and then we can actually switch it on. Obviously we're going to have to then run off this switch here, probably run some cabling. This is actually hollow in the top here, so we may be able to run the cabling inside over the top of the disk drive to the actual power unit over on this side here. And that, I think, should work, and we should have, I'm even tempted actually to put the rack ears back on it, and we can have a rack mount Amstrad PCW. So I think I'm going to actually, sod it, yeah. I'm going to put the rack mount ears back on it eventually, like that. So you're going to get an idea how this thing's going to look. We'll put the top of the cabinet back on, top of the case. Oops, not try and trap my parts in there, but let's stick that back on there, like that. Now that is starting to look pretty cool already, isn't it? We'll put the rack ears on like that, and that is kind of the look that we're going to be looking for. Then obviously we've got the we'll have the Amstrad keyboard. In fact, I was thinking, it's a shame this wasn't a really yellowed one that I wouldn't mind spraying black, but to be fair, that's going to work. So that is kind of the look we're going to be going for. So we've got the keyboard connector will be there, power switch there, like I said, we've got the disk drive mounted. The external disk drive obviously can just sit on top there if we decide we're going to go that way. We're probably going to end up with some extra switches on the front here for probably a reset switch, and a drive selection switch may be added there as well. Sort of similar thing I've done with the Amstrad CPC, that, so we can use a 3.5 inch disc drive, and we'll be able to swap between top side, bottom side, and possibly be able to swap between that being the A drive and the external drive being the A drive. So we'll have an extra little switch bank on there to do things like that. Like I said, that's in the future. This is just a work in progress. Like I said, I thought I'd show you what I've got up to so far. It's like I said, it's not going to get finished in this video. I've run out of time really to do anything on this video today. I've got far too much else to do. But when I found this case, I thought I've got to just see whether all this is going to actually fit together and work together, and I'm actually quite pleased. I think it's actually going to have the look that I was wanting. So it's a pity I couldn't really go with the whole idea I had initially of the CPC 6128 PCW amalgamation, but if I'd have done that, it would be a much bigger unit than this. This is a 1U little rack mount computer. I'm quite liking the idea I'm making here. So I'm going to leave it here for now anyway, because like I said, I am running out a little bit of time. This whole video was just to see whether this case was going to be viable to actually fit this hardware in it, and it does appear it is going to be quite nice and viable to do. Like I said, we'll have to find a source of space for that. We've got plenty of options for that. There was possibly a board there. We could mount that possibly there. We could mount it there. We can extend this cable. It's not a problem. We can remake that if we really want. Well, I probably am going to remake that, and like I said, we'll make it better. We'll make it more designed so we can actually mount it. I've got some. I'll do it on this board. I'm not going to spin a PCB for it or anything, but that could fit there. I think that'd be better. It's already got some screw holes. We can easily line that up. It can be fitted in place like that. So we'll get all the components on the underside of it. We'll probably have to put a little bit of insulation on the top of the case to stop it shorting the back of the board out, but that's definitely viable. It keeps it nicely out of the way. We do still have the provision to get to these edge connectors if in the future we want to decide to do anything with them, because that's like, I'm not too bothered about that connector there. It's just the parallel port for the printer. That edge connector is used for all sorts of add-ons that you could get for the PCW. It would be nice to be able to keep access to it just for future, just in case we decide we want to do anything with, and we could just like cut out the back of the case there, or add a connector to it and feed a ribbon out or something like that. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed this little update on the project. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.